I had a few moments. I thought I would jump here online. Such a big day, such an incredible, amazing day. I'm all jazzed. I'm all fired up. I can't even begin to describe the deep gratitude I have for being able to do some of the work that I do on a daily basis with women and on a higher level through being a normal. I taped an episode today with Dr. Nig from the ADHD Research Institute based out of OHSU. It's one of the largest research institutes for ADHD. And there are some incredible things happening in terms of the research for ADHD, which excites me, being a parent of a child with ADHD. It is really, really difficult to understand exactly how ADHD really affects us. And it's one of those things that really is still quite misunderstood. And the impact to especially the child in the family is really misunderstood as well. It's just not known. One of the things that I really loved about this episode and the big takeaway from this episode was that we don't treat ADHD as seriously as it needs to be treated. And I agree. A lot of people just think that ADHD is this behavioral issue. Really, when we were talking in the episode, there are two real critical elements to ADHD. One is that cognitive development piece, being that executive functioning piece, and the other is the emotional regulation piece. And for anybody that especially parents a child with ADHD, we understand the impact of the emotional regulation piece and how it shows up: the anger, the irritability, the outbursts, the hypersensitivity at times, missing social cueing, things of this nature. And so it was such a great episode. I'm going to be going up to the research lab in the beginning of 2020, which will be fun. The nerd in me is really excited to continue to collaborate with them. So more to come on that for sure. One of the things, though, that really, even in this episode and within the last couple of weeks, last week in particular, this week is an extension of that, is the idea of advocacy. And really understanding why, I hear why, my parent is sick or my child is sick, why can't I get them the help they need? If they had, diabetes or, a serious illness, we could take them to the doctor and we could get the help that we need. And really, I say this a little tongue-in-cheek, but it really at times feels like the mental health system isn't designed for the person suffering. And it can really feel that way, especially if you're a parent trying to get the help that your child needs. Time after time again, I have multiple conversations. I've experienced it myself, been there, done that, get the t-shirt, wrote the book, whatever, on when we have really tried to go. We did all the things, we took them to the doctor, we took them to the therapist, we took them to the psychologist. We have teams in place, I'm getting the help that I'm supposed to be getting and nothing's happening. And one of the biggest things I see being a barrier to progress in terms of mental health is understanding the advocacy piece. And this is really, coming on here really talking about being a caregiver, or especially parents of somebody with a mental health diagnosis. And so I really just kind of want to come on here quickly and stress that advocacy is one of the most important things that you'll have to learn, the most important tools you'll have to build in the massive toolbox you're going to have to build if you're a caregiver of somebody with mental illness. But that advocacy piece, that really is what's going to help ensure that you get the help that you need. Because advocacy can be difficult, especially if you're somebody who likes to keep the peace, if you're more of a pacifist, you don't want to ruffle feathers. Because a lot of times you have to step on a little toes and ruffle a little feathers, especially if we're talking about children and interacting with like the educational system or interacting with the juvenile justice system. There has to become a really strong sense of self and having a very clear goal and end game for your child, and really planning out and mapping out what that's going to look like. And a lot of times everybody is really, from a system perspective, trying to protect their self-interest. The school's trying to protect their administrative dollars. The mental health systems are underfunded, so they're trying to protect their mental health dollars. PCPs, they want to kind of just slide it off, because a lot of times they're not trained to be able to be the right person, but yet they're kind of the first line of defense in the way that our medical model and our behavioral health systems interact. It's either that or the police, right? So learning how to advocate, to have firm boundaries, to stand up for your own needs and the needs of the person you love becomes very critical, but it's not something that's innate. It's not innate in most of us. How do I, they said no, they said, oh, they think it's this, or they told me he couldn't get a 504. They told me it wasn't bipolar. They told me that it was just behavioral. In my case, they told me my daughter was a criminal, and she didn't have a mental health diagnosis. So if we listen to that, because we think when we compare it to the medical model, when doctors tend to tell us things, we tend to listen. They're supposed to be the expert, right, in this. And yes, it's true. Don't ask me to do surgery. It's not going to go well, right? But when we're looking at mental health, it's a different system. It's a different beast. And depending on your insurance provider, how much documentation that you may have, a lot of parents don't know how to arm themselves to be able to go into these meetings or walk into these situations with the information that's going to be most impactful to be able to move the needle forward, right? And that's the advocacy piece. Really understanding what your end game is, really understanding what your child needs, knowing that you're going to come up against resistance towards that. It's hard. And so a lot of parents particularly will just take things at face value. Well, they told me this, they said no, oh, well, I don't know what to do. I've never, because we've never been in these situations before. There's no training manual, especially on this. And so, I wanted to just let people know that it is okay to ask questions and to challenge the status quo. It is okay to get a second opinion. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to educate yourself. It's okay to, find information and explore various options that are going to work for your family. Mental health treatment is not one size fits all, because we are all unique individuals. And at the end of the day, the goal is to help the person that's trying to manage their symptoms be able to get to a point of stability, right? So sometimes we have to fight the good fight, right? And this is all about standing up for somebody that can't stand up for themselves, and understanding that the system is not going to be an ally in that fight for you. So you have to start to rely on and ask for assistance, help, guidance, or training from people who have walked that walk before you successfully, right? It's like asking for advice from somebody who's been through multiple divorces on how to maintain a happy marriage, right? Might not be the best expert for you on that one. But if you're asking somebody that has walked through that fire before you and had a successful outcome, they may be the person you want to kind of get some information from and find out how they did it. So advocate, ask questions, don't be afraid to ruffle feathers, do it respectfully, create allies within the system so you can continue to move forward. Get the help that you're going to need to navigate these systems, anything from the insurance companies and denials all the way up to I can't get a proper diagnosis, or the school will not give me a 504. How do I de-escalate my child? All these different things, right? I mean, like, these are all things that you're going to need to learn as a caregiver with a child or a loved one that's struggling with their mental health, be it a parent, be it a different family member, your spouse, your partner perhaps, right? So very cool things happening in the world of being unnormal. Very excited. We are taping season 6 already, releasing an episode. Of course, tomorrow is release Thursday. I can't wait our production schedule is full all the way up until season 7. We've got some great episodes coming your way. There's a little something for everybody. Trust and believe that. If you have a topic that you want to hear on the show, always drop me an email, beingunnormal@gmail.com. I'm in the throes of Project Holiday Hope, as everybody who reads my timeline is probably sick of hearing me talk about. But it's so important for me because just as I'm talking about advocacy for these parents are struggling to just fight systems that are not working in their favor. And the last thing they can do is, on top of that, is worry about Christmas. So let's help them out. If you want to get involved with Project Holiday Hope, it's 100% tax deductible. Yay! So feel good about giving. Go ahead and email us, projectholidayhope@gmail.com. You can go on my website. You can donate directly there. You can go onto target.com and electronically send us a gift card at projectholidayhope.com. We'll use that for a family's wish list, because really the one thing that I love that was very important, a very important piece for me about Project Holiday Hope, was it's about empowering the families to ask for, or to be able to provide them what they want. Because every situation is unique, and we have to meet these families where they're at. They're struggling. We shouldn't ask the people that are struggling to come to us and be on this side of the fence during the holidays, right? This is about serving. That's, for me, a very important part of the holidays. How can I serve others? So I am going to be taken off, but again, go ahead, tune into the podcast. We're releasing a new episode tomorrow. I'll give you a hint. It may be about ADHD, but it's not with Dr. Nick. So you'll have to stay tuned for that one. It's always a pleasure to serve. www.beingunnormal.com. Check out the website. If you want to learn more about how to learn how to advocate for your loved one, feel free to contact me. I would love to chat with you about that. I have lots of programs available for you, and I work with people one-on-one all the time. It's my pleasure. Have a great day, everybody, and don't forget, yes, Larry, like I said, always get a second opinion. Don't forget to take care of yourself and each other. Bye, everyone.